wind gust. And here in downtown Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, a 47-mile-per-hour wind gust through the course of this morning. So, yeah, a lot of cleanup underway. And by the way, that's just the wind. A lot of us got hammered with the rain. So since midnight Wednesday, right, close to 48 hours, we'll call it 36 hours.
Okay.
Since midnight Wednesday, nearly 20 inches of rain has fallen at the North Fork Peachtree Creek at Buford Highway. So, and I'm only rounding up by a quarter of an inch there. 20 inches of rain.
We always appreciate when you round up.
Yeah, it makes it easier,
Yes.
right? Right. 15 inches of rain in College Park, East Point. 12 and a half inches of rain in Buckhead. That's near the Residence Inn, Buckhead and Lenox Park Boulevard. And at the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta Airport, 11 inches of rain. So nearly a foot of rain since midnight Wednesday.
Chrissy, I was listening to you guys on Atlanta's Morning News, the extended version. Fantastic stuff. And I got a warning on my phone that I'd never seen before. Flash flood emergency. I was like, what? And then you talked about it as soon as I got it on the air, too. Are we still under that flash flood emergency?
Yes. So that flash flood emergency, I need to go back to my screen grab to see when it was
Until
first
1
released.
p.m.
Yes. So it was issued at 7 o'clock this morning,
Yeah.
and it goes in effect through 1 o'clock. There's another one that goes through 1:15. The rain has ended, but the flood threat has not. Quite frankly, it's going to take days for these floodwaters to recede. And as of now, there is still life-threatening floodwaters. There are road closures, and the emergency managers told me as of about an hour ago they were still doing water rescues. So while the threat of driving through floodwaters is still a situation, the emergency managers have requested that the flash flood emergency remains in place. That's why it has the 1 o'clock expiration.
Gotcha. So we're still dealing with floods, with trees down, with wires down. It's still a severe situation. But we're going to be quickly shifting toward cleanup and getting everything out. Are there going to be any weather impediments to the cleanup this weekend in Metro Atlanta, or things clear up for us?
It's going to be okay. I think we'll be okay. We'll still have cloudy skies today, wind gusts as high as 40 miles per hour, but the winds will eventually die down through the rest of this afternoon. A few more spotty rain showers can't be ruled out, but really the chance of rain for today and into tomorrow morning is about 20%. So no more hard driving rain, and the winds are going to start to subside as we go into tonight.
So for folks that slept through it, like the storm, for
Lucky.
the majority of it, I went to bed early, got up early, so I wasn't here I wasn't awake when Helene made landfall in Florida. What time did it make landfall? And when it hit South Georgia, was it still a hurricane?
It was still a Category 2 hurricane.
Wow.
It was just north of, I get Vidalia and Valdosta mixed up, but it was just
One
north.
is sweet.
Valdosta.
Yeah, Valdosta. Thank you. Valdosta has the wild adventures with the roller coasters, but it was north of Valdosta, south of Vidalia, and it was still a Category 2 at that time. Now it was quickly weakening, but I've been studying this for over 30 years, right? It is very rare to see a Category 2 hurricane in South Georgia, but it made landfall as a Category 4 storm around 11:20 p.m. with 140 mile per hour sustained winds.
So Cat 4 in Florida, Cat 2 in South Georgia.
Yeah.
When was it ever a hurricane in Metro Atlanta, or had it fully been downgraded at that point?
It had fully been downgraded by
Okay.
then, with the tropical storm conditions still over towards Macon. It was 40 miles east of Macon, still as a tropical storm.
Christina Edwards
Yeah.
live in studio along with Mark Arum and Eric Erickson. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, let me just tell you. So I am high atop the Fickling building in Macon, the tallest building down here, and I got a view of the Ocmulgee River out my window. When I got here an hour ago, couldn't see the river. I can now not only see the river right now, but within the next hour, it's probably going to be flooding the street down there. That's how rapid the water is pouring into that this morning. And rapidly it's rising. It's still getting a little bit of blue peeking through the clouds down here, but the winds are still gusty down here, not nearly what they were. But what a wild night, and so much water dumped out there. The cotton fields in South Georgia just ruined.
And we heard from Governor Kemp earlier in the morning. He's going to have a press conference at 11:35 with the amount of damage in South Georgia. A Cat 2 when it was in South Georgia, which is unheard of. It's going to really hamper the agriculture industry for sure in the state.
Oh, absolutely. Not just the wind, but also that rain that you were talking about. Now, thankfully, a lot of that heavy rain was more up here than down there. But when it's a 1-2 punch, it's a 1-2 punch.
Any tornadic activity that we know of in Georgia?
Yes, it was in Savannah,
Okay.
as well as the Hilton Head, Tybee Island area. But the storm was so big. Tropical storm force winds extended out 300 miles from the center of the storm. At some points, 350 miles from the center of the storm. So normally it's the northeast quadrant when meteorologists worry about the tornadoes in a tropical system. This thing was so big that the tornado threat was in Savannah and South Carolina.
Looking live at what do you call the radar? I don't want to mislabel. What's the official title of the radar?
High resolution water vapor satellite, and that is going to
Okay.
be infrared satellite.
All right, so we're looking at the radar right now, and it looks like this is up Carolina way through Charlotte, through Raleigh. Is this still causing havoc to our neighbors to the north?
So yes, it's going to be an issue for South Carolina, North Carolina, extending up into Virginia. But for here in the metro region, we are now in the recovery and cleanup mode.
All right. Any final words before you take a much-deserved nap?
To all of you who are listening throughout the night, thank you so much for putting your trust not only in my forecast, but also in the information that myself, Chris Chandler, and the team were giving you. Our number one goal is to serve you. That's why we're here.
Yeah, and you gave us the warning. You gave us plenty of notice. You said this was going to be a serious thing. It certainly turned out to be serious. Latest report, Eric, 6 dead in the state of Georgia, and I'm afraid that number will rise. Christina, fantastic effort. Thank you so much for keeping us safe. Go get a nap. And when you wake up, come back and see
A
us.
little bit more work to do, and then a really long nap.
There you go. All right, we're going to continue our team coverage, the aftermath of Helene, Mark Aram, and Eric Erickson live with you until 3 p.m. Anything big weather-wise pops, Christina will awaken and update us there. We're going to have constant traffic updates, still advising folks to stay home unless it's absolutely necessary to get on the roads. We're going to hear from Clark Howard, Governor Kemp, Scott Slade, a bunch of our experts. We're going to be here for you as we have been for the last 100-plus years. Mark Aram and Eric Erickson live on 95.5 WSB.
When the weather is at its worst,
The danger is certainly not over once the storm is gone.
we're at our best.
High winds are expected to knock down thousands of trees across Georgia.
Stay prepared for whatever Mother Nature has in store.
It's going to take hours, if not days, for that rain to finally percolate and trickle somewhere else.
With your severe weather station, 95.5 WSB.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman of Hoffman Financial Group and the host of Money Unleashed. Chris, with all the things we're reading and seeing and living through these days, from potential rate cuts to presidential elections, now seems like a great time to make sure we have that comprehensive plan in place, the one that covers all our financial bases.
There are occasions throughout the year where I feel like it's critical for people to engage their financial lives and get the information that they deserve from a financial advisory team. And this is one of those times, to be quite frank. So we ask that you call us if you have a minimum of $500,000 in your full portfolio. But we're going to do away with that minimum so that those folks can have an equal opportunity to understand what's in their portfolio as well. Now, you have to have some money, right? I can't help you to build your wealth at work, right? But I sure can help, I believe, with your 401k, IRA management. There's probably 2 or 3 things that'll surprise you that you may want to take action on. So the next 10 people that call in will work up either a portfolio x-ray, or if you feel like you need a full retirement plan, go to unleashyourmoney.com, click on portfolio x-ray, or click on full retirement plan. We think you'll be impressed enough, and we want you to become a client. There's no question about it. We believe that we are a very competent fiduciary advisory team, and we want to offer that to our listeners. Let Hoffman Financial Group actually show you how we perform, and I believe we perform at the pinnacle of this industry.
Call the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-737-3858, 404-737-3858, or online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
10:19 on the Mark Aram Show. Obviously, we're going to be monitoring the roads 24/7. Let's get the latest live in the traffic center. Here's Andrew Seco.
Well, right now, looking at trouble heading south into East Point. Fallen tree in the right lanes on the connector. We've been following this for several hours now. 7585 south at University Avenue. That's exit 244. Little stoppage as you're heading closer to the 7585 split. Elsewhere, looking at a vast number of fallen trees and down power lines around a lot of Metro Atlanta's counties. For a full list of affected areas and road closures, go to WSBRadio.com. The support sponsored by WeBuyAnyCar.com. Avoid the hassle of selling privately or dealing with a dealer. We Buy Any Car is the fast and fair way to sell. Get your car's valuation now at WeBuyAnyCar.com. I'm Andrew Seco, 95.5 WSB.
They were able to get out of the vehicle and get on top of the vehicle. Once they got on top of the vehicle and we arrived, we were able to hook up a system to where we could lower the boat over to them because the current is very strong.
That's Scott Seeley, captain from Atlanta Fire Rescue. A really crazy, amazing rescue of a family and a baby and a dog in my old neighborhood there in northwest Atlanta near Peachtree Creek. Remarkable stuff. Jonathan O'Brien has been out throughout the evening and the mornings covering stories like this. He saw firsthand this recovery effort. Absolutely amazing. Mark Aram and Eric Erickson live with you until 3 p.m. I'm in Atlanta. Eric is in Macon. You mentioned, Eric, you had some severe stuff. I would imagine that the storm was still stronger as it was heading through Macon than it was when it eventually got up here to downtown.
Yeah, look, there was a lot of rain last night, not as much as we were expecting. So, there are all those models of where the storms are going to be. The National Weather Service model had the eye coming right through Macon with about 98 mile-an-hour winds. We were really concerned about that, battening down the hatches last night. But the European models that tend to be a little more accurate suggested it was going to move to the east, and thank God it did. It was still bad enough where we were. There are trees down. The interstate in Macon was shut down this morning, had a tree across the southbound lanes of the interstate. A lot of roads shut down. All the schools are out. But really, the damage is actually further east down I-16, Lawrence County. 2 people dead there. A lot of farms, pecan orchards and the like, ruined today. Cotton crops ruined. A lot of houses without roofs this morning. The further south you go, the worse it is. Valdosta State University got hit by a tornado, had a tree fall through one of the dorms. So the further south you go, the worse it is.
Yeah, and it's going to take a while for us to really get firsthand accounting of what's happening in South Georgia. Just fewer media outlets and fewer people in total. Speaking of people, we're going to be taking your calls, your questions, your observations, what you went through last night and this morning throughout the program at 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. Management here in town, Eric, was nice enough to supply us with nice hotel rooms within walking distance of the station. It was kind of like a mini WSB radio reunion. I stayed up later than I wanted to. I just was having trouble. But there was, by the time I fell asleep around 10:30 p.m., there was nothing severe here. What was your evening like in Macon?
So I've had 2 hours of sleep.
Oh, no.
So I had to do my national show, too, so I was up recording it. The power started flickering after midnight. I kind of wanted to see the intensity of the storm and the direction of it because if it was coming where they projected it, I want to be able to get the family downstairs and not upstairs because of the pine trees around the house. And so I was up, and then I was like, well, I need to record the show, so I did. I got into the third hour of recording the national show, and I was on a battery because the power had gone out. The battery started to tap out, so if anyone's listening nationwide today, the third hour, the last 2 segments of the third hour of the show wind up being the last 2 segments of the first hour of the show because I had no power left to be able to do it. And by the time I went to bed, it was roaring outside. The house was shaking a little, and it was the winds were strong. The windows were rattling, but it did not last as long as I expected. Normally, I grew up in South Louisiana. I'm used to Category 2 and 3 hurricanes. Didn't last long, which told me immediately that the storm was definitely to the east of us. But yeah, I'm on 2 hours of sleep overnight. Ever since I had those blood clots in my lungs, they make me sleep with a CPAP machine, and when the power went out, that thing died.
So
I got one of the battery backups.
You sleeping in that CPAP.
Oh yeah.
Eric, let me jump in for a second. There's a boat rescue going on right now in northwest Atlanta on Hanover West Drive, my old neighborhood. We're looking live at Channel 2 right now.
And all the vegetation, it's obvious that
right now, like a little fishing boat, Atlanta Fire Rescue is pulled up to this. I guess it's a colonial style. I know the home. That's my old neighborhood. It's right there in Peachtree Creek, and they're, the people in the house are on their front porch, and the Atlanta Fire Rescue just pulled up in this boat. And I don't need to hear Justin Farmer, but thank you. I'm sorry. I thought we would hear from the fire department there, but this is insane. This is Louisiana-esque, Eric, as you mentioned.
Yeah, it is. We don't have the Bayou Brigade here to be able to help stuff. You know, when I was a kid, we would have these things roll through every summer, and there's just these massive storms. And where we were positioned, they always traveled up the Mississippi, so you'd always get the worst side of the storm. I was really surprised last night and very thankful the National Weather Service projections did not pan out. We filled up coolers with ice, put all the perishables we thought we needed into the coolers, filled up the bathtub with water just to be able to save. So all the stuff I did as a kid growing up in Louisiana, we did. And thankfully, we didn't need it. Power came on right about 9:05 this morning. And I was finally able to rearrange a battery backup so my machine would work. So I got a couple hours of sleep last night. But it was definitely a wild ride in Middle Georgia last night, and people to the east of us got it far worse than I did.
Yeah, we're waiting more updated totals. Governor Kemp's going to join us after the news at 10:30. Maybe we can get some more information on what happened in South and Southeast Georgia yesterday. So Maya and I and the dogs rode down into the Midtown area to get a hotel. It was about 5:30 in the afternoon. It was the lightest rush hour, 5:30 p.m. on a Thursday rush hour. Like, people, definitely took note and stayed off the roads, which is great to see. And even getting up this morning, coming into the station, there was nobody on the roads, which is fantastic because, as Christina Edwards mentioned, we're still in a flood warning. There's still trees falling down and wires falling down. Oh, the family just got in the boat, Eric.
Oh, good.
The family got in the boat.
Yeah. By the way, it's a ghost town around here as well. There are a lot of impassable roads in the area. They're cutting down trees right now. It is just a ghost town.
Yeah. As I'm looking at this again, this is Hanover West Drive, my old neighborhood on Peachtree Creek. You are mandated to have flood insurance when you live on the banks of Peachtree Creek. But I would imagine a lot of folks in Midtown never thought of, or Buckhead never said, "Oh, right, we need flood insurance." So this could be a big insurance story as well moving forward.
Yeah, it really is, and the flood damage is so pernicious because your standard homeowners insurance doesn't cover it, and yeah, I mean we're seeing areas around here, and largely, and I got to give credit to Public Works for going ahead and trying to.
Eric, let me jump in for a second. Joining us live as the Helene cleanup continues, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp. Governor, good morning. Thanks for your time.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning,
Eric. Go ahead.
Well, Governor, thanks. What can you give us? Particularly, I'm worried about the farmers in South Georgia having already come through several big storms down there in the last couple of years. I imagine the crop devastation for cotton and the like is pretty bad down there.
Yeah, I mean, look, we got hit really hard last night like we knew we were when I did the press conference yesterday. We could not have worse timing for a storm to hit from a farmer's perspective, with peanuts being turned, cotton fixing to be harvested, nuts on trees, just terrible timing. But we're also dealing with really a devastating loss of life. We know we've got multiple fatalities from trees falling on homes and vehicles all across South and Southeast Georgia. And so it's been a devastating night. I just ask everyone to keep all these folks in their thoughts and prayers. And we're, working right now as we speak, trying to get the hospitals to get power back on at hospitals and nursing home facilities. We're still trying to reach people that are trapped in their homes with our search and rescue people, chainsaw teams, and we're called up additional National Guard. So we're throwing everything really at those critical missions right now. And then, dealing with farmers and other things, we'll certainly be doing that in the coming days.
Governor, is there a particular spot in South or Southeast Georgia where like the damage was more than what was expected, or is it pretty broadly spread?
I think it's pretty broadly spread. We're just now getting to where the ceiling's lifting enough down there to get birds in the air and drones up to fully assess damages. But I know places like Valdosta, the downtown area, and that, city of Valdosta, Lands County, just completely devastated. We've had, multiple reports in places like Hazelhurst, Dublin. I know Augusta got hit really hard. Really anything that was on the east side of the storm really took the brunt of this. On the west side, not that they got unscathed, but it was more of a weather event with a lot of rain. We're experiencing flash flooding in Atlanta, so people still need to be weather aware up in the northern part of the state the rest of the day for flash floods. Trees are still falling even though the storm is moving out of the state, so people need to be weather aware if they're on the roads for fallen trees, not to run into any of them, but also just be watching for, things that may be happening where trees are falling in your path that you're going. And then certainly if you're at home and have big trees close to your house, just try to be in a part of the house that would protect you best you can.
Governor, forgive my ignorance, but have we been declared a federal emergency area yet? Are we going to get some federal assistance here?
Yeah, we did a state of emergency very early so we could start moving assets and resources pre-storm so that we could respond literally as soon as daylight came up, which we were doing this morning in South Georgia, and we've continued to follow the storm as it passed all throughout the state. So we've literally got, thousands and thousands of people that are responding right now, 15,000 linemen that are responding. We did get the pre-federal declaration was approved. So really we have everything we need to throw every resource we have at it. We'll continue to work through that process. FEMA is embedded here with us at the State Operations Center with GEMA and all our state agencies, and we're in constant contact with the locals and responding to their requests literally, every moment right now.
Governor Brian Kemp joining us on 95.5 WSB. Governor, we had Christina Edwards, our meteorologist, on just prior to this. And believe it or not, Helene was a Category 2 hurricane when it hit Georgia. We can't remember anything like that in recent memory where the hurricane still had a Category 2 strength when it was inside the state lines.
Yeah, unprecedented. I mean, I talked about that a little bit yesterday in the press conference. We knew it was going to be a Cat 3 or a Cat 4 when it hit Florida, but I said it didn't even matter if it got to a Cat 4. This is one of the biggest wind field storms ever in the Atlantic. So the size and the width of the storm was just massive, which really created a statewide event for us, which is unusual when responding to storms. So we really have people spread out all over the state, and we're responding, literally to every call we get, no matter what county it's in, and they're all over the state. So it was huge. It's the same thing. I mean, I just saw recently when we have 1 million people without power. I know South Carolina has 1.4 million. They got very hard hit on our, border with them over in that Augusta, North Augusta area of South Carolina. It was, I know I'm hearing, unfortunately, multiple loss of life and other things, and it was a bad night for sure.
Hey, Governor, I know you got to get off here shortly, but just one question out of personal curiosity. When the storm is blowing through, there's not a lot that can be done. What do you and GEMA do while the storm is actually blowing through? How do you assess that sort of damage or make preparations while it's going on?
Well, there really isn't. I mean, there's a lot we were doing, but there's not a lot you can do, if you will. I mean, you just cannot respond to certain things like a lineman. They can't get out and start working till the weather clears and the wind gets below, I think it's 35 miles an hour, which makes it safe to be up in a bucket truck. Same thing with our first responders. I mean, we had first responders that have responded, and I know that's happening in other places. It's very dangerous, especially when you have a medical emergency. So people do respond to those things, but it's incredibly dangerous for those people to do that. But as far as, starting to clear roadways and things of that nature, you really have to let the weather clear to be able to safely do that. I mean, we don't want to lose lives by trying to clear roads if we could wait an extra hour. And that's why I've urged people to be patient. But we were responding to things, yesterday evening, 2 kids up in northeast Georgia decided to go whitewater rafting during the middle of all of this. And we had to send a swift water rescue team after them. They were, lost for quite a while. Thankfully, they survived that. But they not only put themselves in danger, they put those first responders in danger too. So those are the kind of things that we don't want to have to deal with, but we did last night, even when the storm was rolling through.
Governor Brian Kemp, we really appreciate your time, your insight. You have the hotline number. If you ever want to jump in and give us an update, please do. And please stay safe as you continue to serve the state of Georgia.
Y'all do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Georgia Governor Brian Kemp live on WSB. All right, Sabrina's standing by with a newscast, going to get you caught up to date on weather and traffic. Then Eric and I will be back live taking your calls, questions, observations at 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk with you till 3 p.m. And, hey, you can watch Eric and I now live on the video stream at WSBRadio.com.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News.